Okay, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions. We'll be covering Brock Lesnar's second stint in the WWE. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into the interesting part of his career.
Yeah, so Brock leaves, does his minute the stuff with the Vikings preseason, doesn't really make the team. Apparently he did pretty good, but I think they offered him not a minor league contract. I think they wanted him to go to Europe and play in Europe for a little while, and he didn't want to do it.
Nah,
So
yeah,
he has a no compete clause with WWE because I think he signed it was like a 7-year contract with the WWE.
yeah, he had a long one.
So he ends up suing them, and I believe that he wins the lawsuit and he's able to wrestle, which is why he goes over to Japan to
Mhm.
wrestle. And I think what was it 2005?
Yeah, he was there from October 8th, 2005 to June of '07.
Yeah.
He was there. He was actually the IWGP champion in New Japan. It's funny because WWE on two occasions during this time filed restraining orders to prevent Lesnar from working there on December 6th, 2005, and then again on January 13th, 2006, but they were both denied. And I guess because he decided to leave them and go elsewhere, they kind of got mad, whatever. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was just spiteful Vince stuff.
yeah, typically.
The guy's got to make a living, I mean,
Exactly. I mean, he opted out of his contract with you
yeah,
guys. It literally was a year and a half before he did anything in wrestling.
right, right.
So I don't understand the beef. But anyway, um, he defended his title against such people as Aki Bono, the famous sumo wrestler. And when I saw this name when I was doing this, I actually went back and I watched the match and I loved it. And I wish they'll do this again. It was Shinsuke Nakamura,
Yeah,
a young
Shinsuke,
Shinsuke
yeah.
Nakamura.
Hmm.
But I think Shinsuke's gotten better with age. They
Yeah.
just need to do something with him. And it's funny because on January, on not January, on July 15th, 2006, New Japan had to strip Lesnar of the title as he couldn't return to defend it due to visa issues.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, even though he wasn't the champion, he still possessed the title for a
Yeah,
whole other year
he
because he
still
wouldn't give
had
it
it.
back.
Yeah,
He pulled a Shawn Michaels when he was suspended. Well, I'm
pretty
not
much.
bringing, I'm not sending the title back.
Ric Flair, yeah.
Yeah, you want it, come and get it.
Yeah.
Well, Flair's, I mean, that was legit
Yeah,
because he
yeah, yeah.
paid
They owed him
into
the
it.
money. Yeah, they owe him the money.
Exactly. You want the belt back, give me my money.
Yeah.
So on June 29, 2007, Lesnar actually defended the title against TNA champion Kurt Angle. Because New Japan, even still to this day, I don't know so much with Impact, but I know they have it with AEW, the joint interpromotional stuff. So he faces Kurt Angle at at an IGF event, and that was Inoki Genome Federation. If I'm saying that right, if I'm not, I'm sorry. Inoki stated that Lesnar was the champion, but Angle had won the match by submission. So that Lesnar had a little brief stint doing that, and we don't see him again. Well, we see him again because shortly after this, he decided to pursue the UFC.
Right.
So then, after this little stint in New Japan, he went on. We all know he went on to UFC,
Yep.
the famous beating of Randy Couture, and all that stuff. I honestly never thought again I would see him in WWE,
No.
especially after the UFC run.
Yeah, I mean, him being on such bad terms with WWE.
Exactly, with everything with the lawsuit and the restraining order and the way he left and everything. I mean, it's something that you thought you'd never see, but we've seen this before, to where guys are on the outs and
Yeah,
then all
yeah.
of a sudden, I mean, Warrior, Brett, Bruno had the issue with Vince.
And then
Eventually, hopefully, CM Punk. I mean, it's always going to happen to where they'll be able to come home.
and they were trying to bring him in earlier, I think. Because do you remember that UFC event? And if I'm getting my timelines mixed up, let me know. Because I don't think Brock had returned to WWE yet. I think he was still just UFC. Do you remember that UFC event that Brock Lesnar loses and Undertaker's in the crowd with Ariel Helwani?
Yes, I remember that.
And Brock walks by him and he's like, "What?" He's like, and Undertaker says, "You want to go?"
Yes, I do
And
remember that.
right, and they try to make it look like it was a shoot, even though it was really a work.
Yeah.
And they were trying to set up something between them for him to come back and wrestle. And I think it was Dana.
Was that a
I
year prior?
think it was a year prior.
2011?
I think so. It was.
I do remember when the Undertaker, because it was all over social media and it was all over
Everyone
New
thought it
York.
was real. Everyone thought they had a real heat. They had real heat between each other. But
Yeah, but
it was a
little does
work.
everybody know, those guys are best friends.
Right. It was a work between the two of them, but nobody knew.
Yeah.
And then I think Dana White got upset because Undertaker didn't tell him that they were going to do something like that. So then Dana thought it was real. I forget the story. I think it was Dana White that got upset because I
He'll
think
get
Vince
over it.
knew. I'm pretty sure Vince knew about it. It was Dana that didn't know.
Dana White will get over it.
Well, he's got enough money to be fine.
Exactly.
But
He's
they
got his
already,
own island, doesn't he?
yeah, they had, he was planning on coming back, even though we would think that he was on the outs. But they basically gave him everything that he wanted. I don't know. Do you know what he signed for? Because I know he got some crazy deal where he got to make his own schedule pretty much.
Yeah, he was literally making. It was like the first contract, I believe. He was literally getting. It was like 3 years, $9 million a year, just about maybe,
Right.
or 9 million total. I'm not that the money thing. Several articles, they all have
They're all
different
different
amounts.
numbers, yeah, but
But the work schedule was pretty much just main. I think it was like 25 dates a year
yeah.
to show up. Maybe wrestle 4 times, which aggravated me because over the last 10 years, the title has always been put on him.
I know.
And then, okay, he wins it at SummerSlam. All right, well, I'll see you at the Royal Rumble. What happened to the 30-day compete thing?
Yeah. You know, the irony of this is that this is the schedule that he wanted back then, and they refused to give it to him, which is why he left.
And so they finally cater into it 8 years later.
Yeah, but at this point, Brock has a lot more leverage because he made himself such a huge superstar in UFC.
Yeah.
That he was able to demand, what he got.
And Vince finally was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
I remember when he came back, I was shocked, man. I was shocked when he came back.
The night after WrestleMania?
Yeah.
April 2nd, 2012, on Monday Night Raw, John Cena's standing in the ring, and all of a sudden we hear the music.
Yep.
And the crowd went nuts.
Yep.
And he's over, and I love it because he goes to shake Cena's hand, and then he F5s him.
Yep.
And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that.
Yeah, at that point, people were kind of like, we were tired of Super Cena.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so, but what's funny is his now he's on a losing streak dating back to, let's see, pretty much No Way Out. He's on a 2-match losing streak.
This is what I don't understand. I know where you're going. This was mind blowing because when Brock came back, I thought, oh, they're gonna book him as the invincible monster that nobody can beat, and he goes into the feud with Cena and.
At Extreme Rules on April 29, 2012, he loses to John
Cena. He loses
Cena.
him. I didn't get it.
I remember he had him over the rope and he hit him with the chain.
Yeah.
He brought out, he found it under the Thugonomics chain, and everybody thought that gimmick was coming back.
Right.
And he F5s him on the stairs.
The stairs, yeah.
And he pins him on it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you brought this guy back to be dominant.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, that I didn't.
But that's Super Cena.
Yeah.
Great Khali, Umaga,
I think
Bobby Lashley.
You know what I think that was? I think that was Vince. I think that was Vince. Yeah.
I'll sign you for what you want, but this is what I'm going to do to you to start.
Right. Just to see if he's going to do business. Yeah. So.
Well, considering over the last 9 years how many times he's been champion, I'll take the one loss to have the huge success after that.
Yeah,
and the match wasn't a dive either. It wasn't a dud.
No,
it was pretty good.
I don't know.
I just thought it was going to be the other way.
Yeah, I didn't.
So, and what's funny is the next night on Raw, Triple H, now they're doing the whole storyline where they refuse to give Lesnar the contract he wants, even though he's already got it.
Right.
And Lesnar attacked Triple H and broke his arm in the Kimura lock.
I remember that.
I loved when he used that move because all of a sudden now he used it on. It's funny. Remember he used it on Shawn a couple of weeks after this, and supposedly he broke his arm. Shawn comes out the next week, his arm's fine.
All right, yeah.
But Michael Cole was over there saying, "Oh, he broke his arm." No, I don't think he did, buddy.
That's Michael Cole anyway. So.
Yeah, I know. But this started the whole Triple H Brock Lesnar thing, which I actually enjoyed that feud, and it culminated the right way with Lesnar overall taking the feud. But the two of them working together, that's a match that we didn't get to see in his first run.
Yeah.
And the one good thing about with Lesnar is he was willing to work with anybody in the ring. It didn't matter who you threw him in the ring with, whereas Goldberg, it's got to be specific, which I don't get. But with Lesnar, it's like, yeah, I'll work with this one, and I'll work with that one, no problem. As long as I come out the winner and I get $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
So now the next week after the whole Triple H arm breaking incident, Paul Heyman returned to be in Lesnar's corner. There was the missing piece to this whole
Yep.
thing, which you can't have one without the other. And I'm really curious to see when Lesnar finally returns, what is Heyman going to do? Because obviously he's in Roman Reigns' corner with the head of the table. And what's going to happen? What are they going to do? Now I know Lesnar will obviously be on Monday Night Raw, but is Heyman going to pull double duty? Is this going to pull to another Roman Brock match? Is this going to be a Heyman on a pole match? I mean, I'm just curious to see where they're going to go with this. The whole contract thing with Heyman is over and done with. He re-signed, in case nobody knows this, because they were starting to wonder what Heyman was going to do. He re-signed. Don't worry about it. In any event. Heyman stated that Lesnar was suing the WWE now for the whole breach of contract, that storyline and everything. And I love when they do this stuff because it's just like it's cheesy, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
But just unfortunately they just do it too many times.
Yeah.
So in any event, now at No Way Out in June, Triple H challenged Lesnar at SummerSlam, and Lesnar defeated Triple H at SummerSlam by submission. And the next night on Raw, Lesnar called himself the new King of Kings. And I laughed when I saw this. I was like, oh, no, he didn't. I was like, that's it. Get my boy out of retirement. Let's go. Come on. Because that annoyed me a little bit. Like, but now I see it, when Rollins did the same thing when he called himself the Beast Slayer and all that stuff. I mean, what?
Remember they did It's My Yard on The Undertaker, and then one day Michael Cole decides that this guy's the big dog, Roman Reigns, and it's his yard. Just stupid.
It was the passing of the torch in that match. It's like Undertaker gave it to him. And right now, Roman's the hottest thing in WWE. I don't care what anybody wants to say.
Yeah, but we're not talking about now. We're talking about when that happened. He was getting booed out of the building. But anyway, I digress.
It is what it is. So now, unfortunately, you don't see Brock Lesnar because now, due to his contract, only really major pay-per-views. So after SummerSlam, you don't see him now till 2013. That was the only thing that aggravated me, especially when they hit the belt on him. Like I said earlier, it's like, okay, if he fights here, are we even going to see him anymore? Type thing. Like this title it's never going to be defended. It's just it's ridiculous. On January 28, 2013, Lesnar returned and attacked McMahon with an F5, breaking his pelvis. Supposedly, I remember when he did this. I was like, there's no way that could have did it, but hey, whatever. You want to go with the storyline, go with it. Because I know where they were going with this, with the whole Triple H thing.
Yeah. Beat up his father-in-law.
Exactly. The following week, Vicky Guerrero, to impress Vince, had re-signed Lesnar. Out of everybody that got released, she is the one that I really want to say thank you. Now,
excuse me.
Exactly. Oh my God, I could not stand that. Is it just me? Or was that really annoying?
It's just too much. It became too much. It was like funny in the beginning, but then it was.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Enough, ladies. In any event, on February 25th, 2013, now on Raw, Lesnar attempted to attack McMahon, only to be attacked by Triple H. Now he's back in the mix. And this was at the time that I think Triple H was also the part-timer, because I think it was 2010 after his feud with Sheamus is when he became the part-timer. He wasn't really wrestling that much anymore. So it's like all these guys come out of the woodwork for the big pay-per-views like Undertaker and stuff. So Lesnar lost to Triple H at WrestleMania 29 in a no-holds-barred match, and I really enjoyed that match. It was really good. As a matter of fact, that whole card was pretty much good. Lesnar then defeated Triple H the following month at Extreme Rules. That culminated the whole thing. They fought in a steel cage match. That ended the feud. Brock wins it 2-1 over Triple H. We're done. So no need to do it anymore now, especially now. So this was a match I actually enjoyed later on, because then his next opponent was not until SummerSlam, and that's when he fought CM Punk. Now, CM Punk was coming off of, he lost the title to The Rock. He lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He had Heyman in his corner, but then Heyman turned on him at Money in the Bank the month prior. So now that sets up. And when they told CM Punk that he was fighting Lesnar at SummerSlam, he's like, "Oh man, Brock and I are going to work this. We're going to tear the house down." And they did.
Hmm.
Because the two of them, you look at the two of them and go, CM Punk is no match for him. Oh, believe me, he is. And they worked really well together.
They had good chemistry, yeah. Hmm.
Yes, definitely. And even though CM Punk came out on the short end of that stick, I do believe they were both winners that night because that elevated both of them.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, CM Punk at this point, he's months away from being gone because of the whole thing with Triple H, how he wanted a match with him, but he's going to lose to him at WrestleMania. And he's like, no, I'm not doing this. And at the Rumble, he left, unfortunately. And still to this day, I wish he would return.
Yeah.
So Lesnar beats him in a no disqualification match at SummerSlam. Doesn't come back now for 4 months. It was December 30th, 2013. Lesnar actually challenged the winner of Orton Cena at the Royal Rumble because now they had done the unification match, the world title and WWE, because then for a brief time they called it the WWE World Heavyweight, which I didn't like. And why unify it? And then a couple of years later, you wind up going back to the Universal win. I really did want the World Heavyweight title to come back. I thought Universal was cheesy at first. I'm over it now. It's been 5 years, but I really think that they should have just brought the big gold belt back.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Considering the fact that they have literally no designs for any of their belts, just a bunch of W's, just change the belt color. I don't understand that. So, in any event, the challenge was interrupted by Mark Henry and Big Show at that time, which I thought was funny because now these two are actually going to go at Brock Lesnar, which was a joke. At the 2014 Royal Rumble, Big Show loses to Brock Lesnar again. We've seen that before. On February 24th, 2014, Lesnar stated that he asked for a title match at WrestleMania 30, but received an open contract to face anybody he wanted on the roster of his choosing. Somebody chose him, not the other way around. And that was The Undertaker. And the build-up to this match, remember they did he signed it in blood? I believe this was the one where he supposedly sent the pen through his hand to sign the contract. I believe this was.
I don't remember, to be honest.
I know they did it. I don't remember if it was that or Hell in a Cell. I'm not 100% sure, so don't crucify me out there if I don't get it right. This match, I was a little leery on going into it because I'm like, okay, if the streak's going to continue, what a guy to beat. If you beat Brock Lesnar in this match. This was the jaw-dropping event of the century.
Yeah.
Watching, and this was the first time watching it on the network. So I don't know about you. I watched it on my laptop, and the damn thing kept buffering.
No, I watched it. I watched it on my TV. I was using the Xbox.
I didn't have the Xbox One at the time, so unfortunately I couldn't watch it on the system. And I wasn't paying. I couldn't pay DirecTV because the contract was over. So I had the network, so I'm watching it on there. And when it finally rebuffered and I got to see the pin live, I yelled out, "What in the hell?" That guy at ringside's thing, just like with his hand, was just classic.
It's funny because I remember this. I'm like, I know Undertaker's gonna win. They're not gonna end the streak. Undertaker's gonna go 20. At that point, what was his record? Do you remember?
It was 20-0.
Was he 20-0 already?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, he's just gonna retire undefeated. Lesnar's not gonna beat him. So I'm watching it, right?
Well, 21-0 is one of those.
Yeah, I'm watching it, and then he loses, and I'm like, I'm looking.
And the best part is he doesn't even know he's losing.
Yeah, because he got concussed.
He didn't know his name until 4:00 that morning.
Yeah.
I saw that on the documentary, and I couldn't believe that he was able to continue, considering he was literally, the porch light was on, but nobody was home. And I was shocked that they even allowed it to go through. And I don't know if the outcome was supposed to be that or take
no, it was
to get over.
No, it was. Undertaker spoke about this. Yeah, he spoke to Vince, and Vince said, "Yeah, I want Lesnar to go over on you." I mean, I guess we'll talk more about this when we do the Undertaker's 100-part series.
Seriously.
But I didn't think Lesnar needed the rub, so I didn't understand why he went over. But he goes over.
He didn't need it.
No, he was already established. He's not going to get any bigger than what he is, and he already.
Well,
so
this kind of made him like the ultimate. Like what more? After everything he accomplished, the
Yeah, but
one
it
thing. But
doesn't.
again, he didn't need it.
He didn't need it. He didn't need it. And then the thing was, it made headlines. This was all over the news. This was even on mainstream news.
It's on ESPN. I remember
Right.
seeing it on
The
there.
thing is, the Ultimate Warrior dies like 2 days later. So this is like
Yes.
becomes somewhat of an afterthought because the news shifted to Warriors passing like right away. I remember right away.
The world was coming to an end. Taker loses at WrestleMania. Warriors.
Then
What
Warrior
is going
passes
on here?
away.
I
Yeah.
mean, and
So
that again, not to sidetrack, but that Warrior thing really it hit all of us
yeah.
like really hard. I mean, it was just like I couldn't believe it.
So I mean, I thought the match was okay. I mean, Undertaker did get concussed somewhere. He doesn't even know where he got concussed, and so maybe the match would have been even better.
Yeah.
And so I think they just wanted to finish it. But Lesnar goes over. So it is what it is.
And then Sports Illustrated actually said that this was the most shocking result since Montreal. And I like that they said it was all the way from Montreal to the like
Yeah.
Montreal was really a shock to everybody. Come on, let's not get into that again. But
No,
I
I mean
mean,
because Montreal was real.
yes, this
So
it wasn't staged like this
yeah.
was, but I couldn't believe it, and it just
I like Heyman's expression.
yeah, because even he was like, "What did we just do?"
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Yeah.
I never wanted to see that streak end. I wanted to see him retire eventually, going into the Hall of Fame with that streak.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Because it'll never be duplicated again, ever. They won't even come close. You'd be lucky if you get a wrestler to have 27 WrestleManias under their belt when their career is over. I mean, that right there is just unbelievable. So I really did want it to be undefeated throughout the end. And it's always fun to every year, to see people step up and try to take him out. It was always the interesting thing. Like you knew it was WrestleMania season when Taker shows up and you hear somebody's music coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you knew, okay, I'm the next guy up trying to take you out. So in any event, we don't see Lesnar again now until SummerSlam, where there he captured his fourth title by demolishing John Cena, and this was the one where he had like 16.
Yeah, this is. I remember this.
I thought the number was funny. 16 German suplex to the 16-time champion.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was funny. But I mean, he just literally destroyed him.
This is what it should have been the first time when he first
exactly.
Came in. Yeah.
I mean, there was no offense from Cena.
Yeah, nobody
whatsoever.
saw that. It was a squash match. It was a squash match. Yeah.
I mean, my God, this was just unbelievable. And on September 21st, 2014, at Night of Champions, Cena won by disqualification, but that was Seth Rollins interfered.
Yeah.
So Cena gets the victory over him, but doesn't get the belt back. So that led up to Lesnar taking a 4-month hiatus. And at the Royal Rumble in 2015, Lesnar's defending the title against both John Cena and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Because if anybody, Lesnar really wanted to get his hands on Rollins.
The triple threat match.
Yeah.
I remember that match being good. If I remember it correctly, it was actually it was a good triple threat match.
Yeah, Lesnar won the match. He went on to WrestleMania that year to face Roman Reigns, and that's the famous heist of the century when Rollins cashed in the Money in the Bank. And
that's right. That's Rollins. Yeah.
Yeah, Cole labeled it as
was
heist
that the
of
night?
Century.
Was that the night that Suplex City was born?
Yes,
it was. Because I remember he grabs him, and then he says Suplex City. It just came out of nowhere, and ever since then, Suplex City was born.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool how Rollins pulled it off. He loses his match early in the night to Randy Orton, and so he comes back out with the briefcase, and he tries to do the curb stomp, and Lesnar picks him up. He's about to F5 him. Roman spears Lesnar. Lesnar gets out of the ring, curb stomps Roman, and Seth Rollins becomes the champion. So the moniker heist of the century it really worked.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And considering that card was considering what happened to Sting that night,
oh Jesus,
and the decrepit DX NWO showdown, I mean the ending kind of salvaged the whole night, especially especially when Roman versus Brock is like, and that match was really kind of stalled out for a moment until Rollins showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So now, at lost my track, David. The next night on Raw, Lesnar was suspended indefinitely for attacking Booker T, JBL, Michael Cole, and a cameraman after being
Is,
denied a rematch.
is this the one where Stephanie's like, put him down, put him down? It was Michael Cole that he had.
Yeah, he had him up in the air.
Yeah. I think it was Stephanie that was
Yes.
telling him to put him, and then he said the hell with it, and he high-fived him. Oh,
Yes.
that was great. That was great. And the shoe went flying.
Yeah.
The fans were going crazy. They hated Michael. I hate Michael. I don't like. I mean, not personally. I don't know him personally. I'm just saying I don't like the character. So I was
Especially after they had the whole thing with Jerry Lawler.
I was like, destroy him, please destroy him. So he grabs him, F5s him, his shoe goes flying, and then they had the I've ever seen these memes online where, when somebody passes away, they'll show a picture of like the ring with the ropes, and it'll say the person's name and say,
Yeah.
And then they had rest in peace Michael Cole, and it was just the ring. You see the shoe, all you see was the shoe, and it says Michael Cole rest in peace, and it said the day he was born until when he got the F5. Tremendous. One of my favorite Brock Lesnar moments.
I don't know about you, but did you hate Michael Cole or annoyed him more when he had the unanimous GM when he'd go, and I quote? I think I started despising him. Well, I liked when he got abused by DX
and The Rock,
especially The Rock back in the day. And then when they started the unanimous GM and he'd go, and I quote, I was really getting fed up then.
Yeah.
And I thought they were taking him off the air for a behind the scenes thing. I guess that didn't happen. But unfortunately, with the lack of commentating that they have, you really kind of need him right now. And he's not bad with what's his name, Pat McAfee.
He sucks.
I mean, McAfee they say is the best thing that's commentating right now. I think he's a freaking goof. Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting till he finally decides I want to wrestle again and feud with somebody. Why else would they have him there? But I mean, Cole and McAfee, it's whatever. It's not Ross and Lawler. We'll never have that again, unfortunately. And I love those two. In any event, obviously that's a storyline just to get Lesnar off the because we all know it's not a regular pay-per-view. It's not a major pay-per-view. He's not going to fight. So in any event, he returned June 15, 2015, when he was named the number one contender to Seth Rollins. Now, I remember this like it was yesterday because I remember the card. I remember watching this match, and I remember what happened. And but we'll get to that match in a minute. On July 4th, 2015, they had the event in Tokyo. What was it? Beast in the East is what they called it. Mm-hmm. He fought Kofi Kingston, which was an utter embarrassment. I mean, he destroyed Kofi, and this is when New Day was a heel. So now Lesnar's kind of coming off as a fan favorite in this, which I didn't like. But unfortunately, anytime they put Lesnar up against Kingston, they always destroy him. And I don't know why. Poor guy. Because I like Kingston. I think he's a great wrestler. So now on July 19, 2015 at Battleground, Lesnar was dominating Rollins in this match with 13 suplexes. He even yelled it out, Suplex City, bitch.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember the outcome of this match or who showed up, but it was The Undertaker.
That's right. Yeah.
And Lesnar won the match by disqualification. Taker came out and attacked him. And this was retribution for.
Yeah.
And it shocked me because Taker at this time is only fighting at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. To see him fighting mid-year, I was shocked because now we're the last 5 years we're only really seeing him at Mania.
Yeah.
So but I understood the storyline. Okay, you lost the Mania, you want retribution, so I'm going to fight Lesnar. So at SummerSlam, Taker actually beat him, but it was controversial.
Yeah.
As he pinned him, Taker had tapped out, but the referee didn't see it.
Yeah.
So they had to do one of those moments. But realistically, I don't care what anybody says. Taker pinned him 1, 2, 3. He's got the victory. Why?
Too late. As far as it was too late for me. It's just too late.
What, with these two?
Yeah. It's too late.
Well, what was their last few? 12 years prior to this? So
Taker's past his prime, and he already lost a streak at that point. I didn't understand the point of it.
Of his career constantly going from there.
No, of him fighting Lesnar again. Like,
Oh,
the streak is over.
well,
It's over. Nothing's gonna
to
change that.
avenge the loss.
Yeah, but nothing's gonna change that. He had lost him before. It's not the first time he lost him. He broke the streak.
Oh
You
no,
never,
he lost quite a few
right.
times.
So you're never getting the streak back. So I don't understand the point. Just me personally, I didn't care for it at that point. It was like,
For WWE, they look at it as putting butts in the seats for
yeah,
this
I
one.
know, I get it, but
No, I'm like you. I look at the Undertaker at that point, and it's like I see the reason why you're doing it. You want the revenge.
yeah,
You want to avenge the loss,
no,
but there's really no need to do it because there's nothing that's going to come out of this to
no,
benefit either one of you.
no,
Obviously, if the Undertaker wins, he's not going to get a title shot.
right. Just,
Lesnar's already getting a plethora of title shots. So what are you benefiting from this other
no,
than
it's a short term.
grossing at the pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's a short term like boost for ratings or something.
And the fact that they fought again at Hell in a Cell. Now, for Lesnar to fight 3 pay-per-views in a row at this point is a record. But the fact that the Undertaker at the height of his career, going into a Hell in a Cell match, not against Shane McMahon, against Brock Lesnar, I thought he was gonna pull a
Yeah.
Mick Foley and die. I mean, I really did. Because I'm looking around and I'm like, are they sure they know what they're doing here? And for whatever the reason, Lesnar beats him in the ring. That match was actually voted match of the year in 2015. It was a really good match, but the Undertaker after that match, I think that's one of the few times that he actually passed out, that he needed an ambulance because he passed out when he got to the backstage. And I really think they had to
Yeah.
carry him out of the arena. I mean, it's just I don't understand why they're doing it. Why is the man doing it? I understand you still think you can go, but really, Lesnar?
When it was a good time during a good segment during this year, it was a little further back when he was going after J&J Security. That whole thing with was it Rollins? It was Rollins that he was.
It was Rollins, yeah. It was leading up to Battleground.
Or was it
I believe.
Orton?
No, it was Rollins.
Oh, okay.
Rollins was the champion in 2015.
Yeah, and then
the whole convertible. He's tearing up the car.
and he beats up the security team. It was Nunzio, right? Wasn't Nunzio one of them?
No, it was Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble.
Jamie Noble. Yeah, it was him.
Yeah, because he went into security after he had suffered the broken neck at the hands of Sheamus, unfortunately. And Mercury just needed a job.
And he breaks the.
Oh my God!
He beats them up, breaks the car door. Oh man, that was incredible. That was great.
He treated that car like it was nothing.
It was like Street Fighter. Remember the Street Fighter bonus stage? Oh my God.
Yes. Oh man.
That was tremendous.
That was one of the times that Lesnar again is coming off as the fan favorite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even though he was a heel, but he was,
It was still fun to watch because just when he comes out with the sledgehammer and he just sees the door and he's like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
And he practically tackles it.
Oh, it was great. I loved it. Man. I loved it.
Lesnar could put on some good skits from time to time.
Yeah.
So now from there, after Hell in a Cell is all over, we don't see him again until 2016. He was the number 23 entrant in the Royal Rumble, eliminated 4 wrestlers before Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family eliminated Lesnar. And this is where they stay again. Lesnar's starting to be the fan favorite again, especially now feuding with the Wyatt family. I don't know about you, I loved it. Yeah. And I was aggravated at Fastlane, that impromptu pay-per-view. No, it wasn't Fast. I'm sorry, it was Roadblock. I believe it was that Bray Wyatt and I believe it was Luke Harper were facing Brock Lesnar, and Wyatt never got in the ring because he wasn't medically cleared to wrestle, which is why it wasn't a one-on-one match. He had back issues. They were saving him for WrestleMania because I believe that WrestleMania is when he fought The Undertaker. So that feud was really good, and I wish they just would have gone on with it. But for whatever reason, that's pretty much where it lost it. At Fastlane, he fought Roman and Ambrose in a number 1 contender match. And if you remember the beginning of the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, they were hit with a huge amount of injuries.
Yeah, everybody got hurt.
John Cena was out. Seth Rollins got hurt and had to forfeit the title. Cesaro was out.
Yep.
They wound up going to Sheamus being the champion for a minute. I mean, to pull off the WrestleMania at Cowboy Stadium with 100,000 people with a half a roster, I tip my hat to being able to do that with the roster that they had, and the guys that weren't there. I mean, it was just amazing that they were able to pull this off. And it was supposed to be Rollins and Triple H at that one. But unfortunately, it never happened until a year later. So we get Triple H winds up winning the title and facing Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar goes to WrestleMania and faces Dean Ambrose, which I got a kick out of this match. I always liked Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, whatever you want to call him. I always liked the fire in the passion he had. Like, I don't care how big you are, I'm going to take you out one way or another. And he held his own against Lesnar.
Yeah.
And there was like 30 chairs in the ring. I think he got buried under them and got F5. I mean, it was just, he got destroyed. Lesnar comes out with the victory, but Ambrose held his own. Yeah. And because that match actually came about from Fastlane when he had the triple threat match to see who would face Triple H at WrestleMania. Ambrose was mostly focused on Lesnar at that point. So it was, and that was a no-holds-barred street fight that they had, too. So now on July 9th, WWE allowed Lesnar to do, this is when everybody now thought he was leaving. They allowed him to do a one-off in the UFC at UFC 200.
Mm-hmm.
He failed 2 drug tests for that fight. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, it was after, I think, though.
Yeah, and then WWE did not suspend him because he was not a full-time performer.
Mm.
I never saw that as them stopping anybody from being suspended. I just think they saw big man here, the moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
I was really against. I'm like, why didn't they not do this? Just like now with the whole Jimmy Uso thing, I actually found out The Rock played a huge role in that, by the way, of why Jimmy Uso's still on TV.
Well, because he's family.
Yes. But don't think he's getting away with it, by the way, because once this storyline ever comes to an end, this boy's getting buried. Mm-hmm. But for right now, it's business as usual because it's going to culminate at Survivor Series with The Rock. Mm-hmm. But I bring that up because it's along the lines of this. You did something wrong, and they're not punishing him for it. And I don't also know if the drug test he failed for is something that WWE even tested for, because there was one article that came out that year that said Vince said, "Well, we don't even test for that." And then the next article came out was this when they said, "Well, it's not a full-time performer."
I don't know. I didn't follow the details of it. I don't know.
Because when I found out about the failed drug test, I'm wondering, okay, is he gone from WWE now? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I know.
But he gets the, I believe they gave him a 1-year ban from UFC because he tried the year after, but I think he decided just not to pursue it. No. He's better off at his age right now at the point. I mean, really.
Too many health problems, too.
And he was too far gone out of the sport. Mm-hmm. So now at SummerSlam, and I liked the build-up to this match. I didn't like the outcome of it. It was 15 years in the making, which these two never clashed to begin with anyway. And I still think they should do a rematch to this at this point. It was the returning Randy Orton from injury versus Brock Lesnar. Now, you remember, I'm sure you've seen that fight on the match, I'm sure, when he busted his head open completely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this guy I'm surprised there was any blood left in this man. They actually had to stop the match. We won by technical knockout.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I really don't understand why they didn't pursue a rematch from this. It was just like a one and done.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they put it together, and then it wasn't until like 2 weeks before where they started the RKO. That's where RKO out of nowhere came from. Because Orton came out on Raw, RKO'd him, and started thinking, oh, the voices in my head told me to do it. And I thought that was funny because Heyman, just right after Heyman said, he will always see it coming, and then all of a sudden, bam, he did. He got him.
Got him, yeah.
I thought that was cool. And I really wish they would have that rematch again because the match was good until Lesnar decided to go all King Kong on him.
Right, yeah,
and I don't understand that. I don't know if that's the way it was supposed to go or whatever the event. I don't know. But that was the main event too, and it ended kind of poorly that year. So on September 24th, 2016, at a house show in Chicago, Lesnar, they had the rematch, but it was a house show. Lesnar beat Orton in an ODQ match. And the match was billed as a Suplex City Death match. And again, you put it on a house show. It wasn't put on a pay-per-view. A lot of people didn't know about this.
Yeah.
I heard the match was good. I haven't been able to find a video on it. So obviously they didn't have a televised thing there anyway. But I mean, they did the rematch, but again, they did it in poor fashion, in my opinion. So, but this leads us to an interesting thing. And when we get to part 3 of this man's bio, if his career ever comes to an end, if he ever stops losing to people for the title, we'll bring up his how he got back. But at Survivor Series, Lesnar, who was baiting Goldberg for the entire year, and I'll just say it now, it started at a 2K when they asked him to be in the 2K new wrestling 2K game. That's where Lesnar started baiting him, and I've got more information on it when we do Goldberg Part 3 in about 10 years when he finally decides to retire. I was really shocked at 1:26 that Lesnar took the loss in this. And I really, I didn't. You're gonna have to take this over. I'm still in shock. I don't know. I can't get the words out.
I actually thought that it was well done because I felt like because they were setting up the WrestleMania match. Mm-hmm. So and Goldberg had been out for a long time, and I think Goldberg actually gets injured before this match. He has some sort of an injury in training, so he couldn't really go long. I thought it was actually good because it was a shocking like he just squashed him.
Yeah.
He just squashed him.
Well, for Goldberg, this is an Iron Man match.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. I mean,
I'm sorry to say. I mean,
like this would have been bad booking if there was no payoff. But the way because there was a payoff, it was actually good booking that he squashed him the way that he did. I was stunned. I was stunned.
So was I. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the whole thing from when he pushed him, and then he spears him again, and you hear Heyman go, "God, no!"
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
he was like holding his ribs too, right? Wasn't he holding his ribs?
Yeah, because he was really selling the spear, which was good. Because these two guys, despite what people think and what the media tells you, that's another one of his good friends.
People hated this at the time, though, and I remember when it first happened, I was like, "What the hell was that?" Because I didn't know there was a payoff. I thought this was a one-off.
Well, that's what they because when Goldberg came out a week prior and said, "Not only are you next, you're last," as to say, "This is going to be my final wrrestling match ever."
Right. So at the time,
we didn't know there was a payoff.
Right. So, but
he came back the next night and said, maybe I got one more run in me. Maybe I got another title run. And I'm like, oh God, no. Are you serious?
I know.
Now back then I didn't mind it. Now I don't understand why it is they keep putting him again. Now his contract is 2 matches a year. So obviously they're thinking real quick, and then I'll get back to Lesnar. For SummerSlam, they were thinking, well, if Lesnar can't make it for Lashley, then it was going to be Goldberg. Now, obviously, if Goldberg's got 1 match left this year to wrestle, you know he's going to lose this match to Lashley. Why even book it? Why is he going up against champions where you know he's going to lose? Put him against random guys on the roster, like a Baron Corbin maybe, or somebody up like a Karrion Kross, something that could help build somebody in a regular match. You know, honestly, the last good match I saw Goldberg have was against Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam 19. Because it wasn't for any title. He didn't hurt anybody. And he actually got the victory. But against Drew McIntyre this past year, you knew he was going to lose.
Yeah.
It's just it's setting him up for a loss, and I don't like it. There's no point to it. You're just hurting him. In any event. So now that we go into 2017 now with Lesnar with the huge upset loss, if you want to call it that, to Goldberg. The Rumble you and I were at.
Yeah.
In 2017, Lesnar enters at number 26, and he eliminated Enzo, Ambrose, and Ziggler before Goldberg eliminated him. You remember this because we were laughing. I spit my soda out. I had to apologize to the guy below me when Enzo's doing that huge hype up, and then he charges into him and gets clotheslined 360, and I'm like, oh God, the guy's dead. Yeah. And I had to apologize to the guy below me. I had my soda guy. He's like, whoa, what the hell? I'm sorry.
Was great.
That was actually a good Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Orton comes out the victor, but Goldberg strikes again on Lesnar.
He got a huge pop. Goldberg had a huge pop when he came out too.
Especially when the Undertaker showed up and Goldberg was in the ring with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
was a moment. That was a moment.
Too bad they screwed that up later on. I'll get to that in a second. So now he goes to WrestleMania 33. Now Goldberg has beaten Kevin Owens for the title at Elimination Chamber. Yeah, thanks to Chris Jericho, who it wasn't even a match. It was literally a spear and jackhammer, and it was over.
Yeah, pretty much.
By now, the Goldberg matches are starting to annoy me a little bit because it's not a match.
Yeah,
it's literally just you're proving to what everybody was saying over the last 20 years that he only had 2 moves. So you're literally just proving it. Now he goes into his match with Lesnar at WrestleMania. Now you have a feeling he's losing this match. And it was better than the first one at WrestleMania by far. I mean, anything was better than WrestleMania 20. Goldberg gets the loss. Lesnar becomes the Universal Champion. So now you got the part-time guy with the full-time belt. It just doesn't work. At least not to me, it doesn't. His first title defense was at this pay-per-view. Name was a joke. Great Balls of Fire. But the match itself, July 9, 2017, was good. It was against Samoa Joe. And again, that's another match I wish I can see. Unfortunately, Samoa is never going to be on the main roster again.
No, it's over.
He'll fight down in NXT. But see, originally, and again, I don't want to get off track. Originally, when Samoa Joe signed, he never wanted to be on the main roster. He wanted to stay in NXT to help build those guys up, like what Gargano and Adam Cole are doing now. They don't want to go to the main roster. They want to stay there, obviously, because if they go to the main roster, Vince isn't going to do anything with them. Samoa really wanted to stay, and he advocated for it, but it never. They brought him up anyway. I think he was better to stay down there, especially with his injury track record and the length of his career. But he beat Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire. But I liked the match; it was really good.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Two big behemoths going at it. And at SummerSlam, Lesnar beat Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman to retain the title. And I remember that Lesnar, I believe, put a stipulation that if he didn't retain the belt, he was leaving or some nonsense. One of those things. I didn't care because I get tired of when they do stuff like this. But that Fatal 4-Way match was awesome.
I don't know if that was the match that Strowman hit him accidentally for real, and then Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Brock hit him. Brock hit him for real after that.
Yeah, he what's the word they used?
A receipt.
Yeah, he gave him his receipt for that one.
Yeah.
And it was justified because Braun, I think
Braun kicked. Was it that Braun kicked him? I think.
Yeah, it was a kick to the head, I believe, when he was
and then Brock caught him.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
And then at No Mercy, Lesnar gets revenge even against Strowman there too because he beats him in a title match. Those two guys had a good match.
Yeah, the two powerhouses. Yeah, they had
better than Goldberg Strowman, way better. At Survivor Series now, this is where they started the Raw versus SmackDown thing. They added NXT later on, but he fought AJ Styles.
Yeah.
And this one, and that was a great match.
Yep.
And AJ almost pulled it out.
I remember that, yeah.
And again, another match I want to see if you can get this guy back. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully he'll be back in August. Who knows? There's no telling at this point. So going into now 2018, Lesnar defended the title against Kane and Braun Strowman at the Rumble. I didn't like this match because this one, with Kane being in, it kind of took away a little bit from it because Kane didn't have his stamina like he normally does. And quite frankly, I don't know what he was doing in the ring to begin with.
Right.
At this point, I think he needed to call it, in my opinion. And once again, now going into WrestleMania 34, it's once again Lesnar and Roman. And Lesnar wins this one. So it's like Roman really can't get over this hump with him. And what's funny is this is when they started the Saudi Arabia stuff. At the Greatest Royal Rumble, Roman technically beat him in that cage match, but they ruled Lesnar as the winner. Because, I mean, Roman technically was out first, but because Lesnar rolled off the cage when the cage broke, and by this point, I'm like, oh, my God, man, would you give it to Roman already? I mean, this is just ridiculous. Not to mention, Lesnar's not losing this title, and it's like, who's going to beat him for it? Roman finally beat Lesnar for the title, ending his 504-day reign as champion, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, seriously.
Nowadays. I did read an article today that Roman is starting to climb up to where he's getting to the numbers,
Oh,
so
Jesus.
that'll rival Lesnar. It's almost been a year since he's held it. He won it, what was it, September 1st last year? So it is starting to creep up to that. But 504 days, he ended it. Lesnar was actually distracted by Strowman in that match because they're still having their feud. Lesnar went on to Crown Jewel to face Strowman for the vacated title because remember Roman had to drop the title due to his. That's when he found out about, unfortunately, with the leukemia. And I really felt for the man. I thought this sucks. I was so happy for him when he was able to come back when he said he was in remission. So I mean, this is one of the hardest workers, regardless of what people want to think about the guy. Boom, cheer him or not, he's one of the hardest workers in there, and he literally is the top dog in there right now. You find somebody else more popular or a storyline that's working.
How many? I don't want to get sidetracked into Roman Reigns, but this is look. No one ever got a push like an 8-year push like he did. Look how long it took him to actually catch on. It took him that many years. So I don't give him any credit whatsoever because if you push somebody for like 8 years and then you put Paul Heyman with him, he should get over as a heel.
He finally is. It worked.
But look how long it took.
And look how many WrestleMania main events he had prior to this. I mean, he was pretty much
terrible. He was terrible.
He was becoming the next Hulk Hogan. With every WrestleMania, he's in the main event.
Only that
Vince was thrown. I know Hogan was over.
Hogan was over.
Vince was throwing Roman down our throats. I'm not going to deny.
Yeah, he was. So I don't give him. No, I don't give him any credit. The
guy can wrestle. I mean, come on.
He's all right. He's all right. I like him in this role as the heel. Okay, this works.
Head of the table.
They should have done this years ago.
True. Unfortunately, they had this thing called the Shield that they kept breaking up, putting together, breaking up, putting together. I mean, make up your mind. What do you want to do?
I don't know. I'm not a fan. So
yeah, to each their own. I mean, not everybody is going to like everybody. I mean, it's just the only thing we can agree on is we don't like Jeff Jarrett.
No, there you go.
Had to throw that pop in there. In any event, so now we go on to Survivor Series, and this match I laughed at because this was a punishment match. Now, he fought Daniel Bryan at the Survivor Series. Daniel Bryan was the WWE champion. What's funny about this is Daniel refused to go to Crown Jewel and fight in Saudi Arabia. So even though he's one of the few guys that was able to do this, only him and Cena were allowed to dictate whether or not they would go or not, which is amazing. Because I wouldn't think anybody would be allowed. The punishment for not going is, okay, we're going to put the title on you, but you're going to have to face the Beast Incarnate. Yeah. And Brock Lesnar just tore him from pillar to post, but Daniel Bryan did hold his own in the match a little bit. Not to say he almost won the match, but at least he put on a little bit of an offense in a match that he was to be squashed.
Yeah.
This was his punishment. And on paper, it is definitely a punishment. Match. Yeah. So 2019 now at the Royal Rumble, Finn Balor finally gets his rematch for the Universal title. Oh, another squash match because they made him look really bad. And that's what convinced them to finally eventually put him back in NXT, which I don't agree with.
Poor guy. Yeah.
And hopefully now he comes back up to the main roster. He should be anyway. But, I mean, I like that match with Brock. I think Balor held his own. I think
Balor's a good wrestler. He's a
phenomenal wrestler.
I always liked him.
I like his work ethic. I like his charisma. Mm-hmm. I think he caught a bad rap against Rollins when Rollins was hurting people because they put the title on him once. I don't understand why they couldn't just put it back in the storyline. Okay, you're back from injury. Let's get you back as champion. Hell, they did it once before. But anyway, he lost the title to Rollins at WrestleMania 35, hence the Beast Slayer thing.
Yeah.
Ending his second reign at 156 days. This is where it got funny in 2019 because then he was a surprise entrant in the Money in the Bank. And now Ricochet is actually he mentioned this last week on Raw or after Raw when they interviewed him that he hopes that since Ricochet is in the Money in the Bank this year, he's hoping that Brock Lesnar doesn't show up and do it again. Because Ricochet was moments away from getting the briefcase. Lesnar comes down, throws him off, and grabs it. Now he's the Money in the Bank winner. And he actually cashed it in Extreme Rules, beating Rollins after he defended it against Corbin, only for Rollins to go ahead and beat him again at SummerSlam. So now you've beaten him twice in 1 year. I mean, Rollins didn't need the bump, but Lesnar didn't need the embarrassment. In any event. So now, October 4th, 2019, Brock beats Kofi to win his fifth WWE title. And this I didn't like either. Kofi Kingston's running around as champion, just shows up on SmackDown and decimates him in 10 seconds. What is this?
Bad booking.
Or no faith in Kofi Kingston that he was just a placeholder for him. And I don't want to say that because Kofi did deserve to be the WWE champion. I didn't agree with that. I didn't like it. So I don't know if anybody else agrees with me. From there, you remember when Cain Velasquez comes back at Crown Jewel. They fought each other there. Not only does Velasquez get hurt after this match, but then they wound up releasing him anyway. And I never understood why they gave him a contract to begin with.
I mean, they were just thinking about that Cain Velasquez beat him in UFC.
This should have just been a one and off.
And he looked like shit, man.
He did.
He looked terrible.
In that title match against Lesnar, he did. He looked awful.
Yeah, he looked terrible. I was like, I don't care what happened in UFC. As far as me watching this as a wrestling fan, you couldn't convince me that this guy was going to beat Brock Lesnar.
No, and this was all involved in the storyline with the whole Rey Mysterio thing.
That's right.
And to make matters worse, Rey Mysterio fights Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series for the title. I mean, once before, you remember when they booked Khali versus Mysterio, and when they realized how ridiculous this was, they had to throw Batista in there. Well, This is something similar, only they didn't make it a triple threat match.
No.
And I don't care what anybody says. Oh, Mysterio held his own, assaulted him, beating him down. No, he didn't. This was a joke match. I'm sorry. I'm not taking anything away from Mysterio, but when you're facing Brock Lesnar, no. There's just certain things you don't do. And so, Survivor Series, he just destroyed him. Now, going into 2020, right before the crap hit the fan with COVID, Brock entered the Royal Rumble at number 1. He wanted to prove to everybody that he could win the Royal Rumble as WWE champion. Drew McIntyre eliminated him, which I thought was great. I didn't like the fact that everybody was coming out and he's just embarrassing everybody. And that was when Morrison made his return, too. Which I also didn't like. When Shelton Benjamin came out, they had their little reunion. Yeah, we'll hug. Yeah, high five. We're best friends. I'm going to chuck you out. The only one to survive in the ring before McIntyre eliminated was Ricochet.
Yeah.
And McIntyre goes on to win the Rumble, eventually beating Brock Lesnar in a capacity crowd of 0, which unfortunately it took away from his first reign, and this is why they want to do another reign with him. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard to do now. But, I mean, when nobody there, Edge had said the same thing. His return back to the ring, it all vanished quickly when you came out and you realized there's nobody here.
There's nobody there. Yeah.
Do I think they should have had that WrestleMania? No. I don't think they should have. I think it should have been postponed.
Yeah, I agree.
Until they had the crowd, when they had the NXT crowd, kind of the few wrestlers that later that year. I think they could have done WrestleMania later on in the year. I think it took away from a lot of people at that one with the pandemic going on. So I just the only match that made sense that WrestleMania was Undertaker and AJ because it was a cinematic match and it was really good. Besides Cena and Wyatt also because it was a cinematic match. But the AJ Undertaker was very good. Everything else, unfortunately, a lot was taken away because there was no crowd. And Lesnar losing to McIntyre, it took away from that. And his contract actually expired August 31st of last year. He had yet to resign because he didn't want to come back until the crowd came back. Which now the crowd is back. They're still, I think, trying to keep it under wraps that he's going to return for SummerSlam. I'm not quite 100% sold if he'll be there or not. I do believe he's going to come back at some point, and he's going to probably be champion again. And I really want him to face Bobby Lashley. That's the match everybody wants to see. I don't know about you. I do.
No, people have been waiting a long time to see that one.
There's a few matches. I want to see Rock face him again. I want to see Orton possibly get another match against him, maybe AJ. There's certain matches. Lesnar's career is not done by any means. and hopefully they'll get his contract signed soon. And hope to God we don't see another Goldberg Lesnar match.
Yeah, God forbid.
But unfortunately, his career right now has temporarily ended with a 0 fan capacity at WrestleMania.
So there you have it. Brock Lesnar's second WWE run, which might not be over. So,
I don't think it is.
Yeah, probably not. Just wait.
I'll be doing a part 3 to this eventually,
Yeah.
just not now.
Yeah. So you guys let us know what you think about Brock's second run. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.